Today's Namaste Yoga is about devotion. Hello and welcome to episode 215 of Namaste Yoga. Thank you so much for joining me for the continuation of the Hanuman series. And today's class is on devotion. And just before we get started today, I have some really special things to let you know about that you can take advantage of. So first of all is we are offering some prizes for giveaway if you leave some great reviews on iTunes. So all you have to do is, I know a lot of you watch on iTunes already, and if you do that, for the best iTunes reviews that we get, we are giving away 2 Dusky Leaf yoga bags. And one of them is my favorite, the really great, big, huge yoga bag that I use to put all my stuff in for filming. You can fit your yoga mat and your blocks. And I also put my water bottle in here and my yoga strap and a tennis ball. And you can fit everything in here and my Kindle. Anyway, so you can get one of those. And I also have another bag too. So if you'd like to win that, the best reviews, you're going to get that. So we have 2 bags to give away. So leave your reviews. And the thing is, because there are iTunes all over the world and we live in Canada, we only see the Canadian reviews. So you have to send us proof of your review. So send us a copy of your review to admin, ADMIN, @melissawest.com. So thank you for leaving those reviews. That helps people all over the world like you find us that are watching on iTunes and their Apple TVs and things like that. So thank you so much. Also, one of the most fun things that we've done this year, that I've done this year, is get to go into the Squeezed archives and choose 3 of my favorite designs to print on some tanks. And this is going to be a special offer only. You have to be on the Squeezed mailing list to receive one of these, to be able to purchase one of these. So you'll have to go to squeeze.ca, make sure you're on the mailing list. And I want to share these with you. So one was, of course, I had to choose Hanuman for a Hanuman series. Where are these?
No, what are these? They're Melissa.
Oh, they're Melissa tank tops. I designed these. I feel like Bethany Mota designing clothes for Aeropostale. Makes me feel very special. Donna has a way of making me feel like a superstar. I have to tell you, it's very fun. So we had so much fun on my birthday doing a photo shoot for this. And okay, this one, so Hanuman, of course, is like so much fun. Hanuman's on this berry tank. And then, okay, this is probably the most fun out of all of them. Can you do a little close up on this one? This one is like skeletons, dancing skeletons. And the best part of this is there are some skeletons that take their heads off, which is so great because I think if your head is really full of junk, it would be really great if you could just take it off and dump out all the contents of your head and then put your head back on. This one looks really cute on, and it's black, so it's very slimming, and love that one. And so that one's my most fun design. And then, well, it's Donna's design, but I got to choose it. And then this one I think is the most me because it says truth on it. Love this one too. And this one is great because for the yums, the first yum is ahimsa, so maybe we'll have to get Donna to do one that says ahimsa, but the second yum is satya. And sach means truthfulness, and to act with truthfulness in the world is really, really super important to me. Authenticity is so important to me. So love that. And Donna actually made a special shirt for me with that on it for my birthday too. So a quick testimonial and we'll get started. This is from Bethany from Facebook, and she says, I've recently begun taking yoga classes and I just watched your beginners yoga video. We love beginners, yay! I loved it. Your explanations helped me to understand the purpose of the poses, such as mountain pose and downward dog. It brings a lightness to my heart. I'm a flutist, and I love that because I have an undergrad in music and I did flute too when I did that. I feel as though every aspect of yoga will improve my musicianship, and I think it definitely will. I wished I'd had yoga then too. It would definitely have improved my musicianship. Thank you for posting your free videos. In my hectic life, yoga is truly refreshing, relaxing, and enlightening. Thank you. So I also wanted to say thank you so much for all your support on Facebook. This past week, we surpassed 8,000 likes on Facebook. So thank you for liking us on Facebook. Let's get to our Hanuman class. Go ahead and rest back in Shavasana. So take a falling out breath to allow yourself to transition from all of that excitement. Transition from the busyness of your life to just all the greatness of life to the greatness of your yoga mat now. Letting your body settle into the ground and preparing yourself to receive the teachings of yoga. So one of the things that Hanuman is best known for, as we learned a little bit last week with the sun salutations, is devotion. And so many of you enjoyed that class, so thank you for letting me know that. Hanuman's selfless devotion is to his beloved Ram. And as you know, his strength came from chanting his name, Ram, Ram, Ram. In every temple of Ram, there is a statue of Hanuman bowing at the feet of his beloved. Hanuman's devotion is an example of dasya bhava, the attitude of devotion or the attitude of a servant. His devotion took the form of choosing not to marry and having a family of his own, so that he could devote his own life entirely to the service of others, and particularly to his treasured Ram. So this is an example of brahmacharya, and I will speak to this more and as it relates to us in our everyday life in a few moments. But right now, let's just say that Hanuman's only desire was to serve Ram. Through his selfless devotion to his dear Ram, Hanuman gained much strength. You will remember from episode 213 that Hanuman is also known for his strength. Because of his undying devotion to Ram, Hanuman became free from all physical fatigue. So it was actually through his practice of devotion that he garnered so much strength and loss of fatigue. So Hanuman, as we know, was also a yogi. If you go back to class 212 on breath practice, you saw that he taught breath practice. And on 214, how he created the sun salutations. But one other style of yoga that he practiced was called Laya Yoga. And this means to dissolve into the divine. So he controlled his mind, and you'll remember in episode 211 we talked about taming the monkey mind through mantras, which are sacred sounds, and yantras, which are sacred symbols. He had mastery over his senses through selfless devotion and adherence to brahmacharya, as we already discussed. And he controlled his mind through his absolute faith in the divine, believing that every event in his life was a gift from God to be accepted without devotion, without question. So how does this all affect us? What does it mean to us living in the world? And how is Hanuman an example of how we should live our lives? Most of us are in relationships, whether relationships of one kind of another. So celibacy is really not an option or even desirable in the kind of world that we live in. So even the attitude of entering into this extreme relationship of service to one other person is really not going to work in our culture. So Rashmi, my Sanskrit teacher, and I were discussing this last week, and I have to admit I didn't have time to get together with her this week. So all my mispronunciations this week are my own mispronunciations, not hers. But we were talking about how Hanuman's devotion to Ram was possible because Ram was a divine being. So he was a perfect divine being. So this kind of relationship really isn't entirely possible in our world unless you were to find a perfect divine being, which I don't know, I haven't met one yet. Except maybe Tim. Maybe my husband. So there are aspects of we can be of service to other people, but this kind of complete servant attitude is probably going to get you into trouble. So this is an allegorical story with some truths and moral lessons that we can apply in our daily lives. So I personally feel that Hanuman represents our monkey mind, like if we go back to one of the first classes we did, and Ram represents our higher self. So this is my kind of take on this relationship. And as an archetype of what it is to be a servant to the divine, Hanuman represents how our egos or lower selves can become servants to our higher selves or our divine selves or Atman. And this is how I feel this whole story is an allegory. Through the control of our senses, by living a life of balance and right sexual conduct, that's brahmacharya, and living in honor and reverence to our highest good, we can always choose to think, speak, and act for our highest good. So I think even when we're thinking of, if we just go back to brahmacharya, and that's the area of our sacred area, our sacral chakra, it's called sacred for a reason. If we treat that part of ourselves with reverence and connect with another person in that energy center with reverence, then we are serving ourselves well, right? So we can think about this attitude of being humble, having an attitude of service to ourselves, having an attitude of service to others when we connect with others. And one of the greatest boons that you can ask of Hanuman is the spiritual qualities that he himself is known for. So reflecting on all of this, what is it that you would like to receive from today's class? What is it that you're trying to cultivate in your life right now? And how could your yoga practice help you to receive that? So go ahead and form your intention for what it is that you would like to receive, knowing that our class today is about devotion, and form your intention. And when you're ready, you can stay resting back on the ground, and we're going to start lying on your backs. Okay. So begin by bending your knees and place your feet flat on the floor. For this attitude of devotion today, we're going to be working with the Anjali Mudra a lot, the Namaste hands. So we're going to do bridge pose to begin, Setu Bandhasana. So you can start with your hands down by the side of your body, press into your feet, and you may even want to, I really do like using the blocks for this to keep your alignment through feet, knees, and hips nice and neutral. Press into your feet and lift up. And then to keep that attitude of devotion, I thought we would use our hands in prayer position here. And then slowly lower down and release the block from between your legs. And then cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh. Open your right knee out to the side. Draw your left knee in towards your chest. Hold on behind your knee and just give your piriformis a nice stretch here. We'll be doing some cow's face, Gomukhasana later. And then release your left leg down to the ground. Uncross your right leg. Cross your left ankle over the top of your right thigh. Really open your left knee out to the side. Draw your right knee in. Reach around. Hold on behind your right knee. Draw your right leg in, but press your left knee out with your left elbow. Relax your shoulders. Space between your teeth. And then release your legs down and just check in and make sure you're serving your own highest good here today with everything that you're doing in this class. Roll to your right side and you're going to come on up and we are going to come to a kneeling position. And you're going to kneel just like this. Now, if this doesn't work in your body, you can always place a pillow, maybe even here between your knees. Mhm. I'm just going to attach this mic. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. If you ever see pictures of Hanuman, they're almost inseparable. He's often pictured like this. You're going to actually bring one leg. I will do the other one first. So bring your left leg up. He's often pictured like this. So this is very typical Hanuman pose if you see statues of him. So we're going to take this pose of devotion, but we're going to make it useful for our practice too. So we're going to use it to stretch out the fronts of your ankles, and you're just going to lift your front right knee and lower it down. You may even need to use your hands to help you with that. And then in the center, you're going to tuck all your toes under and reach around so that you're even tucking your baby toes under, so that you're stretching out the necks of your toes. Sit back. And depending on what kind of an edge, remember you're honoring your own spirit today, so you may need to lean forward to have less of an edge. More is sitting back. And then you can slowly come out of that. That's quite intense. And then, whoo-wee, baby. You can bring your right leg up. So we take that Hanuman pose of devotion on the other side. And then you're going to stretch at the fronts of your ankles again. Wowie is ever different from side to side. Great. And then we're going to go back to stretching out the necks of your toes here. So lean forward, tuck all your toes under, and then you need to reach back and make sure you get your baby toes involved. And then sit back as far as is comfortable for you today. Breathe. And then you can release again, gently and slowly. Okay, great. And from here, we're going to come into Anjaneyasana, another version of Hanuman pose, which is lunge pose. So you're going to start by coming up onto your knees and walking your left leg through. So you're opening up your right hip, your ascending colon first. And find your front foot, so really ground down through your front foot first, and then come upright. And I'll get you to bring your hands into prayer position so that we stay connected to that sense of devotion through this practice. And then ask yourself, what is it that you are devoted to in your life? So I was talking to, I hope Carrie doesn't mind me saying this, but I was talking to Carrie Wanamaker, who does our weekly challenges on the membership site. We were talking to what we devote our time to. And and we were talking about how when at the end of the day, we really devote our time to what matters to us in our lives, for better or worse. So, what are you devoted to in your life? And then what you're going to do, actually, before I do this, and you may want to do this too, roll up your mat a little bit more, or get your folded blanket that I recommended at the beginning of this, in the show notes for this practice, for underneath your knees. Interlace your fingers behind your back and do chest opening arms, or chest opening armpits. That's what kind of came out first. And then from here, you're going to fold forward, because we're going to be practicing humble warrior when we come up to standing. This is like a smaller version of it. And then slowly come on back up, and we'll switch sides for our lunge pose. So switch your blanket or support for your knees over to your other side, and step your right leg through for lunge pose. Spread your toes nice and wide, feel the whole bottom of your foot. And when you're ready, you can come upright. And start with your hands in prayer position for that attitude of devotion. And then interlace your fingers behind your back. Open up your chest. Keep rolling your right knee out so you can see your big toe drop down through your right sit bone. And then hinge forward so that you're coming into a forward fold. And then slowly make your way back up and release all this. You can come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Take your hands underneath your shoulders. Your knees underneath your hips. Spread your fingers really wide. Tuck your toes under. They'll be nice and stretched out already. Inhale. Exhale, lift your hips. And then look at the space between your hands. When you're ready, you can walk your feet into your hands. And then slowly roll up to standing. Okay, from standing, we're going to open up your chest a little bit more to open up your heart to devotion. So interlace your fingers behind your back. Roll your shoulders back and down. Find your feet. Sink down through your feet. Drop your tailbone. Lift and open your chest. And then before you release your hands, just notice the way which pinky's on outside, the outside of your hands, and then switch. Okay, so let's do that again. Roll your shoulders back and down. And lift and open. That feels weird. Especially my right shoulder. Okay, that was fun. Okay, stand at the front of your mat. You're going to take a big step back with your right foot. And your right foot's going to come at about a 45-degree angle. Sink down through your front left sit bone till your front left leg is at about a 90-degree angle. So you're aiming to bring your front left leg to as close to parallel to the ground as you can. We'll start with your hands in prayer position for that attitude of devotion. Find the outside edge of your back foot. And then take your arms around behind you, interlace your fingers, open up through your chest. And you're going to fold forward for humble warrior here. So it takes a real attitude of humility to have Dasya Bhava, the attitude of a servant. Okay, and then you can release this. Whew. And shake out your legs. Oh, I felt that in my front leg. Okay, come to the front of your mat. Let's even out your legs now. And you're going to take a big step back with your left foot now. And your back foot's going to be on about a 45-degree angle. You're going to sink down through your right sit bone until your right leg's at about a 90-degree angle. And I found it really helped that I took a nice wide stance with this one too, because it gave me space for my body to fold forward here. Also really reaching down with my back left leg to the outside edge of my back foot helped too. Okay, so we started with your hands in prayer position. Keep sinking through that front right sit bone, because you're going to want to wimp out on that front leg. And then interlace your fingers behind you. Try and interlace them the other way this time. And then a nice big forward fold here. Okay, that's good. I'm a servant to my legs. Okay, good stuff. All right, we're going to come back down and we're going to do Yoga Nidra pose, the pose where you come onto the top of your head. So this is a pose where you're really becoming a servant to yourself, really. You are humble to your heart, your own heart. So your head goes below your heart. This is one of those poses where you're letting go of your ego. You're saying, my head is going to become a servant to my heart. I'm going to follow my heart. So the way I like to come into this pose is definitely the top of your head is quite sensitive. So it can be nice to use a folded blanket or even a little pillow here. If you have any neck issues, you might want to abstain from this pose. So if it's safe for you to put a little weight on your head, then you're going to come up onto all fours. And this is the way I like to come into this pose. You place your hands on either side of your blanket, and then you push the crown of your head down in between your hands. So it's like you're in cat pose with your hands between your heads. Your head between your hands. And then you take your hands behind you and you lift up to your chest. So this pose is also called rabbit pose. We haven't done this in a long time. And then slowly release your arms down and take your hands on either side of your head and press yourself up. And probably a good idea just to do a little neck stretch, chin to chest, and circle your head around. So I chose that pose. I really like it because it's like your head becomes a servant to your heart there. You're literally, metaphorically, lowering your head below your heart in that one. Okay, the next one I would like to do is like a backbending version pose of Hanuman pose, of the lunge pose. So this is such a beautiful pose, and it's so accessible for even those of us who have challenging time doing backbends. So you're going to step your left leg through, so you come into like a square lunge, so both legs at a 90-degree angle. And then you reach your right arm up and over to your right heel. You could even place a block here. That's an option as well. That's an option. And lift your left arm up and over. This is a really nice modified version of camel pose for people who have challenging time doing camel pose. And then come on up. And we'll do that on the other side. So square lunge. Option to use your block by your ankle, by your left ankle. You reach your left arm up and over. You either place it on your block or your ankle. And you reach up and over. And then let's come forward for Balasana, child's pose. Okay, and then slowly roll up to seated. And we're going to do some cow's face pose. And I think cow's face pose is so great because cows are just the most humble creatures on the planet. So, gosh, they've served enough people by becoming hamburgers too. So, the ultimate servants, unfortunately. You're going to cross your left leg over your right leg. And if you're really lifted off the ground, you can always fill space by sitting on a block. You're going to twist. And twist to the other side. And then come to the center with the Anjali Mudra again. And bring your hands to your heart center for that attitude of devotion. And ask yourself what it means for you to be devoted to your higher self. And then release. And you can switch your legs so that your left leg is on top now. And we'll twist again. And twist to the other side. Come back to the center. Take that attitude of devotion. And ask yourself where in your life you are acting in service. And then release, and we're going to do tortoise pose. So tortoise pose I chose because Hanuman has such great control of his senses, and that comes from withdrawal of the senses. And tortoises are such a great archetype of withdrawing their senses, the way they pull their heads into their shells. So if you take your legs in a diamond shape, reach your hands underneath to your feet. And fold forward here. And then slowly make your way up to seated. And we're going to finish by gathering our strength through the mantra Ram. So you can come to a seated position. I'm going to sit kneeling on the block. You can sit in a chair or you can sit cross-legged. And we're going to sit with the Anjali Mudra, Mudra of devotion. And can you time us, Tim, for 3 minutes? We'll just make space with breath and a sigh. And then we'll repeat, it's just repeating the mantra Ram, so over and over again. And you can either choose to finish your practice here, or you can go ahead and rest back in Shavasana to allow your practice to settle in, to receive your practice. So gradually allow your breath to deepen. Start to wiggle and stretch out. You can rest back for as long as you wish. And when you're ready, you can bend your knees, roll to your right side, and slowly make your way up to seated. Thank you for joining me for episode 215 of Namaste Yoga. I would love to hear from you about this episode. I would, here's my little homework challenge for you this week. I would like you to observe, take a day, and observe all the ways that you act with an attitude of humble service in your life. And then leave it in the comments. If you're a member, you can put it on the membership site in the comments of this class. And if you're not a member, then you can just put it in the show notes on my website. So the first link in the show notes is the link to the class on my website, and you can leave your comments there and let me know all the ways that you notice that you act with an attitude of humble service in your life, because I bet when you bring awareness to that, you're going to find that there's a lot of ways that you act in service to your life, and I want to hear about it. Okay? Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week. Namaste.